Mike Greenberg saying there's a contingency. If Chris Godwin is out, perhaps OBJ is in. Apparently, it's not just the quarterbacks that are going to be fascinating us this offseason. And for more, we bring in Mike Tannenbaum, our ESPN NFL front office insider, America's insider. He joins us on the Goodyear Hotline, brought to you by Goodyear, helping you discover the road ahead. Goodyear, more driven. Okay, take us inside what you think would be perhaps the best landing spot for OBJ if he's available.
Yeah, I like what Greeny said there, guys. Odell Beckham makes the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense much better, and here's why. During trade negotiations, you ask for permission to speak to Odell and his agent, and you say, hey, look, come down here, help us repeat as Super Bowl champs. We're going to need you to take less money because we're trying to keep the group together. But if you win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, imagine that puts you back on the national conversation. You let Chris Godwin graduate, you take that savings, and now you keep Levante David, Shaq Barrett, and Ndamukong Suh. So Beckham's a better player than Godwin, and if you recruit him the right way, you could probably get him for less money. So I think Beckham actually could help the other side of the ball and still keep you explosive on offense.
With that being said, Mike, I don't know how you, because I wasn't in all of the meeting rooms clearly when y'all made some poor decisions on trading certain players. But anyway, when you look at OBJ versus Godwin, you're asking Godwin to move on, but you're bringing in OBJ, which are two different type of wide receivers. One guy is an inside guy, and the other guy is predominantly an OBJ is outside. So what happens when you need to replace the production of Godwin in inside? Who goes there?
First of all, Key, you bring up a great point. Not everyone's as smart as certain organizations that can get 2 first-round picks for a receiver. So maybe we should manage the expectations of what Cleveland can get.
Tell him,
so
Mike.
I appreciate you bringing that up. In all seriousness, you bring up a great point. But I think that's why Antonio Brown is important because AB has flexibility. Put him inside. Now think about this. If you have Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr. on the outside, AB in the slot with Gronk at tight end, who are you going to double? When you get to the red zone, it's almost undefensible. So it's a great point, but I think that's where AB, and again, we've talked about this before, Tom Brady becomes not only a great player on the field, but he's created this aura of association. So if you get Gronk and AB back, now you have some flexibility. And I love Godwin. I think he's a little bit of an underrated player. Don't get me wrong, but this is a resource allocation discussion. And if we could keep 3 really good players on the other side of the ball, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, and maybe Ndamukong Suh, and now Beckham wants to come down there because the weather's better, no state taxes, and I get to play with Tom Brady, yeah, I'll take some less money. I'll sign up for that short term. And wow, I think they become even better offensively.
How much pressure is on Frank Reich, the Indianapolis Colts, and Carson Wentz to evolve beyond where they were this year with Phillip Rivers at quarterback, now that they've gone out and acquired Carson Wentz?
Key, assuming Deshaun Watson is not traded, I think Carson Wentz is the 4th best quarterback in the AFC South. And I think there's enormous pressure. And I think this is going to be a real struggle for the Colts. Ryan Tannehill's been a top 3 quarterback since he's been in Tennessee. Deshaun Watson is a top 5 player in the NFL. And Trevor Lawrence may be better than all those guys. So Carson Wentz really struggled last year. I think he'll be better than he was. But I don't think this is going to materially impact how well they do because I think all those other quarterbacks, to me, I would take before I would take Carson Wentz.
So, Mike, right out of the gate, you're projecting Trevor Lawrence to have a better season upcoming than Carson Wentz?
Well, Jay, here's what I would say. When you give up multiple high picks where it's going to be, let's say, presumably a 3rd this year and a 1st next year, you're really making that decision for the next 3 to 5 years. So I agree with you. In 2021, maybe I do take Wentz. That's close for me because I think Trevor Lawrence is that good. But from a Colt perspective, you gave up multiple high picks for a number of years, and I just don't see Wentz being any better than 4th. Again, that's assuming that Deshaun Watson's there. If Watson's gone, I change my opinion. But I think this is going to be a heavy lift for Indy, and I think Carson Wentz, when you look how much he struggled between turning the ball over, his fumbles, his lack of confidence, I do think it'll be better in Indy, but I don't think I put them in that Super Bowl conversation.
Mike, let's talk about Watson for a second and Deshaun Watson. What are the Texans doing? Why are they waiting around to try to fix this? How come are they looking to trade? And what's going on there? What's happening?
And Mike, we got just about a minute.
Yeah, my hunch is this, guys. I think Nick Caserio wants to hold on to Deshaun Watson and try to fix it. If I'm them, here's what keeps me up at night. If we had this conversation a year ago, Doug Marrone was saying Jalen Ramsey is a Jaguar, he'll be here. Then Jalen Ramsey has a hurt back. Next thing you know, he's a Ram. And what I'm concerned about for the Texans is if the draft comes and goes, and now Deshaun Watson doesn't show up and we're into September, and you're trying to establish David Culley, now it gets really tough because now you're not going to maximize his trade value. So I think you're making a good point, which is if either you're in and you're going to go through a whole lot of tough days and you're going to have to wait it out, which may take a year, or if you're going to trade him, Jay Will, do it right now, because right now is when you have the most teams interested, where in theory you get the most in return.
Yep. Sit at home and eat fried chicken, Jay, and come in with 6 weeks to go in the regular season and get my credit season and move on from there.
It's always about the accrued season. You got to get the accrued season.
What? They don't want to move me, right, Mike? Just stay at home. Stay at home and chill. I'll come in with 6 weeks to go.
And that's the worst case scenario if you're the Houston Texans. And boy, they're doing a lot of soul searching now. They're saying today what's going to happen in September, and then try to make the best decision from there.
Indeed, Mike, we got to run. Thanks very much.
That is the best place for Carson Wentz to wind up. Coached, again, by Frank Reich, who did him right, when they were together in Philadelphia.
This is put up or shut up for Carson Wentz and Frank Reich. Frank Reich, you're staking your career on this guy being what he was in 2017.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Anytime that I run into somebody, it must be a victory.
And now if you're Carson Wentz, you're in the perfect situation for yourself to resubmit yourself as one of the top-tier quarterbacks in this league.
Tired of beefing you bombs, you can't even pay me enough to react.
Wentz is a mental reclamation project.
If they could just get him back to what we saw when he went 11-2 before he tore his ACL against the Rams, if they can get that guy back, or the guy that we saw at the end of the 2019 season, they hit pay dirt.
Sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now.
Good Monday morning. Over the last few days, there's been plenty of revisionist history on Carson Wentz, and now that the Wentz era in Philly is history, we can dig into it a little bit further. We'll do that in 1 minute. It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin back for another week here on ESPN Radio. All of our guests on the Goodyear Hotline, including later this morning, our brand new ESPN NFL draft analyst, Matt Miller. We've got Mel, we've got McShay, and we've got Miller cornering the markets on the M's. Fellas, good morning. How was the weekend?
Carson came and went.
That's a good one.
Way
New
to
York
take Evan's
Post. That
line.
New
You
York
took
Post.
Evan's
Don't steal
line.
that. Philadelphia Inquirer.
Nothing much.
What
man.
up, boys?
Chilling. Weekend came and went. We're moving on now, right? We're trying to figure out what's wrong with the Lakers. We already know what's great about the Brooklyn
told you
Nets.
that
They
was
just
coming.
go out west and they win. That's all. Nothing much. Weekend was kind of just blah.
I had a great moment this weekend. I had to drive my wife to the city for her growth scan. And Key, I had a cup of coffee while she went into the hospital, and I sat there and just people watched for a minute. It's been a while since I've been in the city.
You drink
People watch.
coffee?
Yeah, I drank coffee.
That's right. You
drink coffee every morning.
You haven't been here such a long time, so I forgot.
Yeah. Well, let me remind you. I saw Jim Boeheim, Zubin. I saw a moment. I saw a guy walking down the street. He scratched his booty, picked the nose, and then the finger went right into the mouth. I'm telling you, Key, I miss New York people watching so much.
This is Jalen Johnson blowback.
This
is Jalen Johnson blowback from
It
Jay.
just happened. No, look, you can see it online. It's Jim Boeheim has the best ones. It's the deep dig, and then it goes right.
Oh, man, come on, man.
What?
This
It
early in
happens.
the
It's
morning.
city watching. It's people watching in the morning.
Jim Boeheim. Oh, you just made me because I saw the video.
Oh,
He
I remember I
hooked
sent it
it
to you.
and all that. That's
He got
just
deep
so
in there.
gross. Why did you have to start the morning off like that, dude?
Because it reminded me of how much I loved and I missed the city, the people watching aspect of the city. So you guys get it too much. You guys, it's easy for you guys. It's the norm. It hasn't
drink
been
coffee?
the norm for me.
I don't. Have you noticed, Jay, though, and Key, I don't know if you've noticed this. One thing I've noticed living in the city, not only is the energy down, so many storefronts closed. I don't see police anywhere. It doesn't feel like you're living in New York. It doesn't feel like you're living in New York.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess.
The energy.
Yeah. Keys in Brooklyn Heights, sir. You know what I mean? Like they do it differently over there.
Say, man. Shh.
Hey, sir. You're right. Sorry. Sorry, you're right.
I don't know. The energy is a lot for New York. You need it to really.
The vibrancy.
Yeah, you need it.
The people, the languages, you know what I mean? Everything that makes it so unique.
But you also know where you're at.
Yeah.
And you're in the middle of a pandemic, or hopefully at the end of a pandemic. And so you expect for certain things